Hey everybody, welcome. It is September 26, 2023, and I'm your pal, Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and I'm here completely live to take your questions today, whatever your questions might be. This is Ask Me Anything, and I do it every Tuesday about this time, though I am thinking about changing up the times to accommodate more people in more time zones. So there might be a new schedule for 2024, but for now, we're at 3 p.m. Italy time. And you can ask your question at deltacx.com/links. There's a way to ask your question anonymously or ask a really long question. Or I am also watching the chat room. I am watching LinkedIn, YouTube, and here we go. And Twitch, believe it or not. And so you are welcome to ask any question you have. Normally questions are about product strategy, business strategy, customer experiences, customer centricity, UX. All of these are fair game. And anything else. You never know what else I know. You are welcome to ask anything here. So I'm usually live for an hour. For now, I have no questions. Nobody has asked any questions ahead of time since last week. You can always ask questions anytime there. If you are part of our Patreon and you are a mid-level or higher, you also can ask questions in our Discord in the Q4AMA channel, secret channel. Hey, Linda, good morning. So, yeah, happy to take questions. I'll be watching all of our usual spots for them. If for some reason you're supposed to have access to the Discord's Q4AMA and you don't have it, please send me a private message so I can look later and match up with your Patreon membership and make sure I get you the right permissions in our Discord. But in general, our Slack and Discord communities are free, so drop on by. Come and ask your questions there too. Help the community be active. So yeah, no questions today. Bye everybody. I don't know. Who has a question? Seems very quiet today. We have Olivia the dog joining us. Hello, Genevieve. Okay, we have a question from Kenichuku. I apologize if I didn't pronounce you well. I always do my best and sometimes make people accidentally Italian, so please excuse me. Okay, so this is a great question. I love it. We've never gotten it before, so thank you so much for this question. Let's get it up on the screen and let's talk about it. All right, that's weird. Why didn't the question come up on the right screen? This is weird. My system's being weird today. I don't need that. All right, let's try. Oh, because I hit 4. No, I was supposed to hit 4. Can I hit 1? All right, we'll try 1. Sorry, I've got special ways of animating things in, and clearly some are working and some are not. All right, so the question was, what are your thoughts on fractional design leadership and how does it impact CX? So personally, I love fractional design leadership if you don't have design leadership or if you don't have enough design leadership. There are many people working in CX or UX or design or research who don't have a manager that comes from what they do. Their manager might have little or no experience in any of this, and it can be hard to feel supported. It can be hard for that person to really understand what goes into that work. It can be hard for that person to advise you well when they don't come from the work. So I think that there's a couple of places where fractional leadership can make sense in CX, UX, research, design, whatever it might be at any particular company. One might be more lower level design leadership where you don't have any leads, you don't have any managers, and you want someone to come in part-time on some sort of schedule where they can oversee the people who are doing the work. They might not be doing the work themselves. They are more in that leadership position, but they're kind of a semi-manager. Maybe the people report to someone else, but now they have someone who comes from the work who can review and advise and help. And I should put in a little plug and say I do this work, and I would love to do more of it. So if anybody would like me as a fractional leader, please get in touch. So one area is kind of being a little bit lower in leadership, kind of like a lead or a manager, where you are reviewing people's work, making sure they know what they're doing, upholding standards, work reviews, helping them fight some of their battles, and being that kind of lower level manager. The other great area for this fractional leadership is higher up in the hierarchy. I did do a 6-month adventure last year at a company where I was like kind of an interim VP of UX. And that was a great run for me. There was a lot I liked about that, and would certainly love to do that again. And so that is another area where sometimes you need that higher level leader who's going to help the company understand the importance of being more customer centric, or take the user's perspective, where we have the business's perspective and engineering's perspective, who's really representing the users, someone who can collaborate with the high-level engineering leads, high-level product leadership, and other people. So there's lots of areas in the hierarchy where you can have a fractional leader. And for those of you not familiar with the term, it's basically like having a part-time leader. Like imagine if you had a director of UX who was maybe there 2 days a week to handle the most important stuff, to support the team, to work with other leaders, but they're not there. It's not a full-time job, it's fractional. So fractional is just a fancy way of saying, I'm not here full-time. I'm here half-time or a fraction of the time because I might be offering this service to multiple companies, or you're just looking to spend less on that CX, UX, research, or design leadership. How does it impact UX? In my opinion, if you get a great leader, it should impact things really well. If you get a great leader, your quality of work should improve, because now the workers who didn't have a good person to go to for help and work reviews and coaching and mentoring, now they have that person. And other leaders who maybe didn't fully understand CX or UX, or weren't prioritizing it, or weren't looking at some of the customer-centric metrics they should be looking at, you can be out there fighting for that to be part of the landscape of the metrics and outcomes that we look at. So I would think that when you get a good leader, this could be great. But of course, I've been around long enough that I have seen bad UX leadership at some companies. I've seen bad CX leadership at some companies. So just because you find someone who says they can be a CX or UX leader, or says they are one, or says they're a fractional one, does not mean that this is really something that they're strong at. So I think this is a job that you really have to interview carefully, and you have to think about the type of person you want to bring into your company and the experience they should have. So thanks. I hope that answers that. Okay. Oh, Lily, so good to see you. Lily's got a question. Lily was one of my book editors, everybody. Say thank you. So was Linda. So we have like some book editing squad today. Okay, so this is Lily's question. Another good one. What advice do you have for technical product managers and biggest challenges you commonly see? I think the biggest challenges I'm seeing for technical product managers is that in my opinion, they used to be so tied to Scrum and Agile and the technical side of the work. Like where I work now, I have a technical product manager, and she's amazing, 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 amazing times 10. I absolutely love her, and we couldn't do the project without her. She's so important, and to me, she bridges everybody, in my opinion. And maybe you're saying, Deb, you don't get technical product managers if that's what you think. Whatever. From my perspective, this person, whose name is Dani, D-A-N-I, she builds that bridge between the 8 million stakeholders we have on the project, and the engineering teams, and the data and analytics people, and my UX work, and our designer's UX work. She really is that glue holding all of it together, while trying to be a little bit also kind of a project manager and you know, hold that together. So I think a technical product manager is really important. I do wonder sometimes about a non-technical product manager. I'm having a little trouble understanding where they fit in and what their role is. And sometimes people say, oh, well, their role is more marketing. And I go, okay, then put them in the marketing department. You know, I'd probably work with them less. But I do love working with technical product managers, technical product owners. I really think that they are doing a role that is not replaced by anything in UX, not replaced by anything in engineering. So I think the biggest challenge is that because product manager has gotten a little fluffy and fuzzy, that sometimes people don't understand the important role of the technical product manager. And they think more about the product marketing manager, or they think that the product manager is kind of a fake or interim UX person. So I think, sorry, let me click this button, which looks like it's on my face. That button's not working today, damn it. So I think that is the biggest challenge. And I think the biggest challenge is to make sure that we have product management leadership, or program managers, or portfolio managers, whoever that chain goes up to, who can make sure that this is the type of work that's being done in the company, and that we don't stretch a product manager thinner than they already are, because there are so many roles they're playing and hats they have to put on. I don't want to add to them developer. I don't want to add to them marketer. I don't want to add salesperson, or people doing demos for potential customers, or people trying to do UX research or design. So I think the biggest challenge is to redefine product manager in the swim lane it used to be in. And then it just got kind of fluffy in the last few years as people fell in love with books that say, oh yeah, product managers can do every job at the company, magically, with sometimes no background or education in this work. It's just bizarre. We're living in a very surreal world where everybody can evidently do everybody's job, whether or not they're good at it, and we don't care because there's no accountability. So that's what I think. Let's see. I think Ana Lucia's got a question being cooked up. All right, let's grab these questions. Sorry they're not coming up on the screen. I sacrificed that. Let's see if I can get them up there. All right, let's copy paste that into my note so I can put this in the, oh, I forgot to check for anonymous questions. Oh no. Oh no, we do have an anonymous question. Thank you for your patience. I will answer that after Ana Lucia's question. Sorry about missing that. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Just copy and paste universe over here. Okay. Yep. Sorry, just getting this ready. And just checking other spots to make sure I'm not missing questions. Okay, we'll look at the anonymous questions coming in after this. All right, Ana Lucia says, I'm currently reading Larry's book. That's this one, everybody. Disruptive Research, available now. This is my test copy, but it is available now. Go to Amazon, please. Halfway through, and I'm trying to apply the stuff. Are you, oh, sorry, Matthew has are you implying that only technical product managers are useful? No. Are you implying that's all you heard from what I just said? So I think technical product managers are super useful. if you are not a technical product manager, we would have to have a conversation about what your role is, because without knowing that you're a technical product manager, if you are just a product manager, you'd have to tell me what your roles are, because I don't know anymore. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you are a technical product manager without the technical name. I don't know. Let's take this question down. I just hopped in. Hi, Matthew. Sorry, Ana Lucia and anonymous person. We'll get to you in a moment. I don't know if your title is product manager. I don't know what you do until you tell me. I don't know if you're trying to do coding. I don't know if you're doing marketing, sales, demos, trying to do UX research, trying to do UX design, project management, or anything else. When I hear product manager, I don't actually know what that person is doing. So I can't judge if it's useful or not. I don't know. It's probably useful, but I don't know what it is without getting a better description of it. A technical product manager, in my opinion, or usually like a Scrum product owner, is usually well defined. If you said to me, I'm a Scrum product owner, I have a pretty clear idea of what that is due to Scrum training. Hi, Ian. And I work with a technical product manager, and I've worked with other ones, and I get what that is. If someone says I'm a product manager and they don't mention Scrum product owner or technical product manager, I technically don't know what you're doing. And in some cases, I've had product managers, no offense to product management in general, who were not helpful to work with, who were not positive experiences, who I wondered what they were doing on the project and what their role was. And some have been amazing. So it's been a bit hit and miss in my personal experience. And so I love the technical product manager or the Scrum product owner, because they rarely try to do my job. They rarely come to me and say, hey, CX and UX, anybody can do that. That's just a skill, right? So I could do that. I can research, I can design. Usually the technical product owner or Scrum product owner is just way too busy doing what they're doing to try to also do my job. So I do prefer that. So I hope that helps. I hope that's a little bit clarifying there. Back to our friend Ana Lucia. Reading Larry's book, and I'm trying to apply the stuff on my case study. I ended up with one task analysis that is common for all the participants and two subtasks that only a certain group of people performs, and for a few more outcomes along with general outcomes. It was quite interesting to find this. Do you think it's justifiable to branch the general user knowledge profile to consider these subtasks as other user knowledge profiles? Yes. Absolutely. And we'll get to Lily's comment in a moment and the anonymous questions that's waiting for us. Thank you for your patience. Two anonymous questions. Thank you. Oh, I would like to ask if it's okay to send. Okay, we'll get through your questions in a moment. Yes, you can definitely, you don't have to make a general user knowledge profile. You can say, you know what, due to the subtasks we're seeing, there are two user knowledge profiles here. And sure, sometimes they both do this task, but then there's these other tasks that they do differently, or they do the same task differently, or they do different tasks. And so we've created profiles to account for that branching or different approaches or different tasks. So yes, absolutely. Don't feel like you have to just make one user knowledge profile and that's kind of it. A lot of the examples in Larry's book, he tends to show a user knowledge profile, but ultimately you're making each of these for different people. Like the example Larry sometimes uses when he's on our show, like episode 200, he talked about how you might have a user knowledge profile for someone who's generally very good at Microsoft Excel, and then someone who's really amazing at the more advanced features of Microsoft Excel. That's not really a traditional persona, but it helps us understand that some people have really good knowledge and skill with a certain tool that might be important for their task, and some people don't. So, Ana Lucia, I hope that helps you. Okay, that's a spam email. And okay, let's take it. We've got two anonymous questions. I'll start with one that came in unfortunately 13 minutes ago. So thank you to that person for your patience. We'll do the 2 anonymous questions and then Lily's comment in the chat. Here we go. Thank you for the kudos. In the excellent webinar on risk mitigation you presented yesterday, episode 202, available now for paid Patreon members, coming to YouTube publicly in about 2 weeks. You said the workshop should be run by a senior UX practitioner rather than a product or project manager. Can you explain why you recommend this? Yeah, ultimately I said that I think it's important to maybe collaborate with a project manager on this, and that if you are doing a if you have one or more co-facilitators or assistant facilitators, you probably are going to need a project manager or someone in a project management role, which sometimes is a product manager, depending upon how your company names things. I do tend to recommend that a lot of workshops be run by UX practitioners, just because I'm trying to get us to reclaim some of these conversations. And I also think it's important for CX and UX staff at senior and higher levels to facilitate and initiate conversations around risk, because sometimes these are conversations that other domains don't want to have. And if they do want to have it, that's great. And again, you can always share the facilitation with those people if that's the environment you're working in. Like, I would absolutely want to share with my product manager. She's great, and we're not trying to step on each other's toes. But at some companies where we do have some power struggles or other types of struggles with product managers, engineering leads, scrum masters, and people typically in those roles, I'd like to see, I really think UX can make sure it's delivering more value by having more conversations about risk. That being said, very often a futurespective or some of these agile ceremonies might be run by scrum masters or agile coaches or something like that. So it's not the end of the world if somebody else runs the risk mitigation workshop. I would just want to make sure that we are following through on what we talked about. So again, it is just my personal preference that a senior or higher UX person is at least a co-facilitator here, but since this isn't a design workshop, because I would want to make sure that CX or UX owns a design workshop, but since this isn't a design workshop, it's definitely okay if non-UX people are co-facilitating or facilitating. Thank you for asking that. That's a good one. All right, we have another anonymous question. Let's see. Let's get this one on the board. Thanks for all the great questions today. They're really nice and fresh. I would like to ask if it's okay to send a resume to the hiring manager or head of UX of the companies that I want to work with, but they aren't hiring. Thank you. Okay, so my thought on this is you can, but remember that number one, that might not be the company's process. So you could send a resume to a head of UX. For example, let's say you connect with them on LinkedIn or you send them a LinkedIn in-mail, just as an example. You could say, hi, I saw that you're the head of UX at company X. It's a dream of mine to work there. I really love what your company is doing. I know that you might not be hiring in UX right now, but would it be okay if I send you my resume and a cover letter? And they might say, yeah, sure, send that over. I'll take a look at it. Or they might say, I'm sorry, I get too many of these resumes and I can't really keep up with them. If we open a job, please just apply through the normal channels. Or they might not answer you at all. So I would say you can ask. I get emails like this all the time, and I just quickly write back to people, thanks, but I'm not hiring. I do not save their resumes. I do not keep their resumes. I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. There's just too many of them. Shweta's got a question. We'll answer that after Lily's question, because Lily's still waiting patiently. So I think this is one of those things where you can do this, but you just have to expect that you might get no response. you might get a negative response. Hey, sorry, I get 10 questions like this a day. I can't accept resumes, especially when we're not hiring. Please just keep an eye on our job postings or career site and apply with everybody else when we open a job. So I think that would be my recommendation there, because again, I get these all the time. So you just have to be prepared for the person to say, sorry, but no. I think the worst response I've ever had to, sorry, I'm not hiring right now, so I'm not going, I can't look at your resume. I got, thanks, have a nice life, which is a bit of a middle finger. Which certainly can make someone memorable in a bad way. So make sure you are gracious. You can always say, thank you. In a world where sometimes we don't get replies or we get ghosted, I really appreciate you taking the time to reply. So you are interrupting someone's day to try to get something for yourself with possibly no benefit for them. Be gracious. Groovy. Let's take a look at Lily's question and then Shweta's question. So, all right. Lily says, thank you, Debbie. This wasn't a question. Sorry, this is just a comment. I often describe my role as a bridge across the enterprise and glue. Yeah, because Lily had the question about the technical product manager. The ability to communicate with everyone from a business as well as a technical perspective. I enjoy both aspects. The last few years really digging into data analysis in order to self-serve while also coordinating a data scientist team. Super. All right, so then we're over to Shweta's question. Here we go. And I love this question. I don't think we've seen this one very much, and we definitely need to talk about this because this is hot topic. Let's use my official symbol for hot topic. Ooh, hot topic. Okay, so Shweta says, there are some coaches that mention that candidates can propose unsolicited product teardowns as part of their application to stand out. What's your take on this? My question is, would you like to stand out as good, or would you like to stand out as not so good? I've seen a lot of LinkedIn posts. Yeah, Anna Lucy wants to know about this too. Let's imagine, do we have hashtag empathy, everybody? Say it with me. Empathy. Do we have empathy for the manager, director of UX, head of UX, or something who's going to receive this? Let's imagine you work at a company and you've tried really hard to make the best UX and product that you can, and sometimes you've been blocked and sometimes you've gotten some good stuff through. What would it feel like to you to see a stranger send you a website or a PDF or a document tearing down your work and pointing out where they think your work is bad or could be better? What might you think of that person? And let's also remember that the person doing this and offering you this unsolicited advice has no internal knowledge. They might not know what your company's goals are. They might not know the KPIs that are important to teams. They might not have seen the user research that tell us who people are and what they might need. This is somebody who knows nothing other than they have an opinion on your site. And we've done some teardowns on the show, but I wasn't applying for a job. I wasn't saying, look how I can dismantle your work and tell you how you could be better, and please hire me. I think that it has the potential to come off as high ego. I think it has the potential to come off as, your baby is ugly, but don't worry, I can make your baby prettier. But I don't know anything about your company. I have no internal knowledge. I don't know what you need. I don't know what your users need. I'm just going by best practices and my own skills to tell you what I think is wrong with this, but please hire me. Probably doing it for the clout, says Kevin. Oh, great comment from Matt. Matt says, this happened to me before years ago. Every bit of feedback that came back, and I was like, yeah, no shit. But we're doing the best we can with the backlog we have. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, someone can say, hey, why haven't you fixed this crapola thing that you have on your site? Look, I made you a wireframe. Look, you should hire me. I can fix this. And someone like Matt, who's a high-level leadership at his company, is going, we know. I promise you we know. We just haven't gotten to it. We prioritized other things. So I think it would be great to hear from Matt. Matt, did you feel like that person was overstepping? Did you feel like they were helpful? Did you feel like they were a low ego action hero? Did you feel like they were high ego? Did it make you want to talk to them? Did it make you want to not talk to them? Yeah, Matt says, some people act like, oh, that's not hard to do. Why don't you fix it? Yeah. And Matthew Clark, other Matt, says, seems like a good way to upset every person on the design team before you even start. Bingo. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it puts people in a really tough spot. And also you have to remember that very often when people do these teardowns, and again, I've done these on our YouTube shows, so I've done teardowns too, and we can do teardowns and we can do audits, but I'm never doing them in the context of, and please hire me. Malika says, is this the same as companies asking candidates to audit their sites or products as part of the application? No. And personally, I think that's unethical because they're asking you for free work. I get paid to audit sites. I get paid to audit products. It doesn't make sense for you to do that audit for free. That's free work. So be careful of that stuff. So I agree with Matthew Clark. So far I'm agreeing with everybody, but Matthew Clark certainly hits it that you could upset the people on the design team, but you have the added bonus of possibly upsetting the people on the product management team, the engineering team, and remember, very often the people who are now, when I do the teardowns on the show, I don't always say, and we should design it like this. This is how it should be. But remember, very often the people who do this are providing wireframes or prototypes and saying, this is how it should be. Remember, this is what we used to call genius design. And genius design was a snarky term that meant you're just designing what you think is good. You have no research, no data, no customer knowledge, no personas, no journey maps, no videos of customers doing a thing, no task analysis. You have nothing because you don't work there. You've just decided, I'm the genius. I know how to make this better. I have no internal knowledge, but I know how to make it better. And look, you could be right about some things. It's possible. But it's Professor Clemens. How you doing? That's a good one. Unethical and professional. Yes. That's a common practice to keep UX design in the defense and increase the debt. Let's see. And Chantel P says, I've had a few people do that during the application process. I've also had the luxury of UXers leaving app reviews for our product, letting me know they can do better. Frustrating. Hi, everyone. Yeah, and I've definitely been guilty of that in customer support emails. I try not to do it in app reviews, but in a private customer support email, sometimes I will say, look, I can tell you don't have a UX designer working on this. And usually it's after they say to me, like when I say, hey, here's something that needs to be fixed or something that isn't right. And they'll say, or I'll say, here's a suggestion I have for a new feature. And they go, thanks, we'll tell the developers. And I say, you don't have any UX people? Well, I can tell you don't have any UX people. If you think you want one, check me out. But I try not to say I can do better, even though I probably think I can do better. But I don't necessarily want to say I can do better to a company with a UX team because I believe that would be insulting to them. But when a company, sometimes I'll even I'll LinkedIn search companies to see who works in UX there, and it's nobody. So I think I can do better than 0 UX people, and I might express that privately in a customer support ticket, but I don't want to say that in a public rating, and I don't want to say that in a fake portfolio kind of case study. Another thing that I've sometimes found doesn't work for similar reasons is I used to include in some of my cover letters some of the areas of improvement that I thought a company had without saying what the solution is. Like, hey, you know, I'm applying here. I love your company. As a customer, I've noticed some areas of improvement that I hope I'd be able to look into more and see what opportunities there are for improvement. So I'm just pointing out some things that I've seen. I'm not saying what the solution is, but I don't think I've ever gotten a job interview after writing a cover letter like that, so I stopped writing that. You know, am I terrible and wrong and high ego for saying those things? I hoped not. I hope there's nothing wrong with saying I've noticed some things that could have room for improvement, but I don't know what the solution is. I would have to be working there and understand more things. But again, I can certainly understand how someone wouldn't want to hear that. So I think we have to have real #empathy and think about the person who is receiving and seeing this. And I think you can stand out, but in a bad way. Matt says, support teams can take the brunt of this feedback. I have to work with our agents to make sure folks don't steal their joy. Often we only hear the bad news, and I personally offer to meet with them. That's great. Let's see. Clemens has a question, and I don't know why FedEx is surveying me. I haven't used them in a long time. Erase that email. All right, let's get Clemens' question up on the screen. And it says, do you agree that with our level of experience, we are done with being nice and we can just be honest? I would ask you, Clemens, in what context? And also, just to make sure everybody knows, when Clemens talks about our level of experience, he means me and him and some truly old school human-centered design peeps. Oh, my B&B guest is leaving. I am sad. Oh, that's a cute picture. I forgot to ask her if I could show it on, let's see. Let me write to her. Can I show this on AMA? So actually, my B&B guest who's leaving is someone from our community. So I'm always happy to meet people and have them hang out at our house a bit. Meet with customers that have UX feedback. Yeah, I got that, Matt. So Clemens, I think that, you know, are we done with being nice and can we just be honest? I think you can be both. Without getting more context from you on your question, my question is, why can't we be both? Why can't we be a likable person that people want to work with, but also an honest person who's going to call it as they see it, who's going to not necessarily throw coworkers under the bus, but call out bad KPIs, bad processes, bad stuff, bad outcomes when they happen, and not sweep them under the rug and not celebrate failure and say, you know, hooray, our A/B test failed again. Woohoo, we're learning. Context, engaging with product and technical teams. Yeah, I say be both. Be both. I think it's important to be a nice, kind, low ego action hero that people would want to work with and want to hire or want to bring in as a consultant. Or, it's not an or. This is one of those fake choices, false choices. I don't have to pick one. I can pick both. Let's be nice and let's be honest. You can be honest and still have tact. You can be honest and still find gentle ways to say things or blunt ways to say things. Up to you. So, you know, let's be both. But I do believe that we need to speak up more. So I think yes to more honesty, yes to more pointing out the bad outcomes and the failures and the broken processes. I think we do have to stand up and speak out more. We have to speak up against some of the cutting CX and UX corners that we see with just run a quick workshop or just put a guess out there. I think we have to stand up to all of this. Yes, that is best. Sometimes you have to be honest and confront people in a nice way. Of course, I was just referring to the built-in. So I'm going to go with both. Matt says, don't be bitter. I see too much bitterness. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity out there, and I think it's okay and understandable to be upset, frustrated, bitter, fed up, sad, depressed. All of these make sense, and they're real for what a lot of our work and jobs look like. But we're still going to have to try to be the pleasant person people want to work with, and try to be, understand problems and their root causes that are going on in our teams and work, and then be solution focused. Do what we do for users, for ourselves and our own teams. I feel both is an indication of a leader versus a manager. Yeah, you see a lot of those types of posts on LinkedIn, like, here's a manager, here's a leader. And so sure, absolutely. I mean, technically, if your title is manager, it doesn't mean you're not doing this. But I think it's important to figure out how we can speak up more about anything that is working against good customer and user outcomes. I think our biggest problem is not that we're too nice, it's that we don't speak up. A lot of people don't even see us as nice. They think we're high ego and we are terrible to work with and we're siloed and we're not agile. They technically have low opinions of us, but we still need to speak up when we see risk, when we see bad outcomes, when we see poor decisions being made, or uninformed decisions being made, or bad decisions being made despite good information that would help us make a better decision, or no strategy, or cloudy strategy. I think we've got to speak up more. Yeah, thanks for that. Great topic to think about. Let me check if I'm missing any questions from either our Discord. No, nothing in the Discord. Nothing in the super private email. Just checking that I'm not missing anybody's questions. I know people get somewhat upset with me when I miss a question, so not missing questions. So hi everybody, this is AMA, Q&A AMA as I call it. I'm live here for an hour. Usually we'll end at the top of the hour, or if you're in India, top of the half hour. I'm usually here Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Italy time. I'll probably be changing that schedule for 2024, but for now, that's how we roll. Remember that check cxcc.to/events for our upcoming free webinars that are not held on YouTube. We're holding them in Google Meet, and then we record them and put them on YouTube right away for our paid Patreon members. That's paying at least $1 American a month. Really affordable for most people. Or totally free on YouTube 2 weeks later if you don't mind waiting. I see a question from Chantal. Just want to give a few more plugs. For example, thank you to our Patreon members for supporting our channels and our content and helping me do all of this work for you. I've been writing 1 or 2 webinars a weekend for everybody, and it sounds like you're really enjoying them, so that's really exciting for me. And so tomorrow's webinar is free webinar, these are free, is on service design with Ricardo Martins. So come on down. Let's see, and then the webinar after that is next Wednesday, October 4th, on what I think continuous discovery research should be, because I don't agree with some of the product managers out there and what they sell it as. Wednesday the 11th, we've got my Impact Map webinar, tying customer needs to business impact. And then I can't remember. Let's see, we've got a really cool webinar, mark your calendars, on Monday, October 23. We have 2 AI experts coming in to tell us what we can reasonably expect AI to be good at and why it's bad at some things now, and how to set the right expectations for AI. So again, cxcc.to/events, add it to your Google Calendar or RSVP to individual events to be reminded. And yeah, those are all free. If you want to pay for something, you can come to my space workshop, which is one in October and one in February. Those are not free. All right, let's get Chantel P's question. I say P like that because that's your Discord name. All right, how do you approach a data researcher who pushes quantitative data, but it's surface level? That's tough. So sometimes we have someone who has run a survey or pulled some analytical or usage data, and they try to draw a conclusion from it, and the conclusion probably isn't necessarily a correct one. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about, Chantel? I know we're about 20, 30 seconds, what's the word I'm looking for, delayed, so I'll wait for you to respond to that. But that's a type of thing I've sometimes seen where someone says, hey, so for example, I had a job many years ago where a product manager came to me and said, hey, I've been looking at data, and 26% of our mobile web, or 27, something like that, percent of our mobile web customers aren't filtering their search results. I think there's a problem here. I think that we should have a project that will really push people to add filters to their search results. And I said, this doesn't make sense. Just because we know that 26, 27% of people are doing a thing or not doing a thing, how do we know that that's a problem? And who is it a problem for? Is it a problem for us? Is it a... I said, can you find other data that's a little bit, kind of later in the customer journey arc that shows that this is a problem? For example, if we have someone who isn't filtering their search results, can we slice out that population from your data and find out if they're spending less with us, buying from us less often, shopping on our site less often? Can we find anything in any way that this group or population or people with this habit, that it turns into something that looks like a problem for the user or customer or for our company? They said, oh no, I didn't. Right, Malika says, can't we learn why they do that first? Totally agree. To me, I would say, well, do we know why they're not filtering? And do we know if these search results without filters work for them? The product manager didn't care. They went and got budget, and they said, we're going to make a feature to kind of push people into filtering. Now, this is the project that I ended up putting in my portfolio because it's the story of how I predicted a project would fail and then how it did. And I only feel comfortable talking about that because the project went live. You could see it, and then you could see it not be there anymore. Chantel says, yes, exactly. Unfortunately, he has business buy-in, but I don't think the research is that good. Stuff like 36% of people see an improvement. Well, what does that mean? Can we tie that to the type of either customer-focused outcomes like time on task, or business-focused outcomes like some kind of money being spent or frequency of a purchase? I don't remember what industry you work in. Can we tie it to something that the business really cares about? Did our NPS go up? Again, I don't love NPS, but to take a general temperature on customer satisfaction, it's something, even if it's not the best thing. So back to my other story, if we can't tie this to a real problem, I don't want to assume that something's a problem. And Malika's right. I would want to say to that person, do we know why? One thing that I said to that product manager at the time at that job was, what if people on mobile are tending to add, and I said this is just a guess, extra keywords to their searches? What if instead of blue jeans, they're searching for blue Guess, brand name, blue Guess jeans, size 8 boot cut? Well, if you've done that, you don't need our filters. You're going to get straight to exactly what you want in the size and style and color that you want, and you don't need our filters for size and style and color. So do we know if the people not doing filters, if their search results work well for them, if they're finding what they need? Do we have any Data. Can we slice out any data that shows that this is a problem? Matthew says, how often do you use filters with search versus not? Isn't that more effort from the user, i.e. Google or e.g. Google? Yeah, I think, now this was e-commerce. So obviously when you have an e-commerce system with a huge database of products, thousands, if not tens of thousands of products, sometimes filters can really help people. They start with a more general search like blue jeans, and then they go, oh yeah, I should probably just look for ones in my size. And they use a filter to filter out one or two sizes that they commonly are. Oh, you know what? I think I want boot cut. All right, let me look for the style filter. So I think it really depends on habit and behavior and the type of site this is. I do some filtering on Amazon, but only a little. Sometimes I filter for Prime and 4 stars or higher. But again, this goes back to what Malika said and what Matthew Clark is implying, I think, which is, do we know what people are doing and why and whether or not this works for them? If not using a filter works for people on this site or in this context, I'm not going to pretend this is a problem I need to fix. I'm not going to say this is I have to push people into doing more filtering. What data do we have that shows that people who filter are happier, buy more, are happier with their purchase? Do we have anything? Yeah, Mike says, and we can't assume that filters are faster or better or more accurate. Sometimes we have very messy data and our filters show people wacky stuff. So I think, Chantel, it's a tough spot, but I would be asking some why questions. I would also be asking, as gentle as possible, how did you come to that conclusion? You know, 36% of people see an improvement. Can you show me some of the, your survey questions and how you know this? It's tough. People don't always like being challenged, but if you are looking to push against this, you're going to have to do some challenging. If you can let it go, then maybe you're picking your battles. Matthew says, if your metadata is good, keywords should be fine. Right. What if I say blue jeans, size 8, boot cut? I should get the jeans I'm looking for, right? Or at least a bunch of choices. Lucia says, that reminds me of my struggles with Shine. Is it pronounced Shine? I don't shop there. The search is horrible. The filters are my lifesavers to make it work. Now I avoid it. Mega says, startups expect many roles. Oh, is this a question? Like graphic animation and a lot of work from UX designer without a team, and that too from a junior designer. Is this a question? Because this... Or maybe this person is out of time. Maybe they started late, so they're a little out of time. That's the funky thing about when you start the video late and then you post a comment and we see it now and you're going to see it in 40 minutes. So not sure what Mega's talking about. But yeah, oh gosh, we're just about out of time. So just a reminder to everybody, please join our Patreon. You can join it for free, and it's kind of like a mailing list, or you can join it for as little as $1 a month and get access to stuff. We've got our YouTube channel. Won't you subscribe here to CXCC and tell friends about it? And then, of course, we have our calendar of upcoming, mostly free events, cxcc.to/events. You can add it to your Google Calendar so you always know when we're up to something, or you can RSVP to individual events and be reminded. You're not put on a mailing list. I'm not collecting email addresses. You're just RSVPing to be reminded by my reminder system. Chantel says, thanks, I'll follow up. He seemed flustered when I did that question, so I'm on to him. Yeah, I've run into that, and normally I've tried to, as soon as you see that person freeze a little bit, you can try to find a way to jump in and say, hey, I know it seems, you might think that it's an obvious conclusion to say they saw an improvement or that they like it more or whatever, but I want to make sure we're really careful with how we come to conclusions with our data, because we might make decisions based on this, and I just don't want us to overstep or overinterpret what the data says. Mike says, I don't know how to remove things I don't want to see by using the minus. Oh, I know how to remove things I don't want to see by using the minus sign in some searches and plus. Yeah, some searches work with those old school kind of Boolean operators or plus and minus. Okay, I think we have the second half of Mega's question. So let me try to piece this together. Hold on. And that will be our last question for today. I hope people aren't sending in anonymous ones because we're pretty much out of time. We'll just handle Mega's question. Okay, the question says, startups expect many roles like graphic, animation, and a lot of work from a UX designer without a team, and that too from a junior designer. Please address this, and how can I talk to my director or boss? How can you talk to your director or boss to say you have too much work? To say that your work isn't clearly prioritized? To say that you can only do one thing at a time? Normally, where a good natural way to bring this up is, let's imagine that somebody has asked you to do some graphics, and you're working on the graphics, and then someone else says, well, where's the UX design? You're supposed to be working on the UX design. This is where you can say, I can only work on one thing at a time, and we're going to have to decide which one is the priority. Do you want the graphics first, or do you want the UX design first? And if they say, well, we need both, you can say, well, I will eventually finish both, but I can only work on one thing at a time as one person. If you want two things worked on at a time, you probably need to grow the team, but I can only work on one thing at a time. So please let me know which one is more important, the graphics or the UX design. And then you put it on them to decide. And if they say, hey, where's the animation? And I say, well, I'm working on the UX design. They go, no, we need that animation. Okay, but Jim needs the UX design. Well, I want my animation. Well, then I need you and Jim and I to have a quick meeting to determine whose project has priority, because I can't do an animation and a UX design at the same time. I can only do one thing at a time. And that means you're going to have to tell me which one is the priority, which one of you needs the work first, and which one of you needs the work second. And if you both need your work at the same time, I need you to please consider hiring another designer. I can only do one thing at a time. This is sometimes where those conversations start, when the company has the friction or conflict of not getting what they want from you fast enough. And the reality is, the problem isn't that you're not fast enough. So don't let them make you think it's you. It's an unreasonable request. So instead of saying, hey, this is an unreasonable request, blah, 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 I just say, oh, hey. Because I used to have this at a lot of jobs I've worked at. I was put on 3 projects at a time. So I'm working on, when I worked at Macy's, let's say I'm working on Beauty Box at the same time that I'm working on, what was that other thing I worked on? Now I don't even remember. But I was working on 2 things at the same time. And one team is like, why aren't your designs ready? I said, well, I have designs to make for the other team too. Well, we're waiting for your designs. Well, so are they. Well, why don't the 2 product managers get together and decide who gets my designs first? I will happily switch to whoever's project is more important. The interesting thing about this is it will direct people's fighting away from you and onto each other. And you just say, look, I don't know which one of these is the higher priority project for this company, and I don't want to decide. I was just working on the graphics because someone asked me to do those first, and then I got asked later to do the UX design, so I'm doing that second. I'm just doing things in the order people ask me for them, but I can't do 2 things at the same time. So, if you want 2 things at the same time or 3 things at the same time, for everything that you want at the same time, you need a designer. If you have 5 teams waiting for things from you, you need at least 5 designers. A lot of companies don't think that. They'll try to make you think you're the problem. Do not believe that. Do not accept that. This is what we call gaslighting. Gaslighting is your perception of reality isn't true, and we think you're the problem when you're not the problem. If someone says, and I've heard some people tell me about this happening at their job, you're just bad at time management, or you're not working fast enough. I would just say, oh, sorry, I've got the cursor on my face. I would just say to people, look, Sally's team asked for these graphics by tomorrow, so I'm doing them now. Jim's team asked for these UX designs by Monday. I'll work on them next. If you feel that I'm not doing a good job with time management, can you please tell me what I should do differently? Again, it puts the ball in someone else's court to give you actionable, solid advice. If they say, we'll work faster, I am working as fast as I can. Since I am already working as fast as I can, do you have any other advice for me on time management? You're telling me my time management isn't good. Please tell me how I should spend my time. If they say work later hours, I would say, I don't get paid for those hours. I work here to get paid. I'm not going to give you 2 extra hours today or weekend hours just because maybe it's not my time management. Maybe it's the project management here. Nobody asked me how much time I needed before they threw work at me. Sally said, give this to me Friday. Jim said, give this to me Monday. Nobody said to me, how much time do you need to do this? And let's plan for that amount of time. That's a conversation that should be happening. Someone should ask me how much time I need to do a good job on this. Nobody asked me that. They just made up deadlines. They've no idea how long my work takes me. And the weird thing is, according to them, I'm never fast enough, but yet they never give me more time. Like, you would think I've been here long enough that they've learned by now that I can't do these things in 1 day, 2 days. It's not enough time. So I can't work faster. I am working as fast as I can. I'm not going to give you night and weekend time. That's my time with my family. That's my time outside work. You're not paying for that time. If you want that time, you have to pay me extra. So I would just be talking about how you can only do one thing at a time, and that people are going to need to give you clear priorities. And if they want more than one thing done at a time, they need to hire more people so each person can work on one thing. All right, we've run over time. Speaking of time, we're out of time. So I'm going to have to run. But, oh, and the person said I can show you the picture, who's just been staying at my B&B. So here we go. Oh, is that coming up a little bit? Yes. For those of you in our Slack community, that's Alessandra. And those are the dogs Olivia and Romeo. So thank you to Alessandra for being a super guest and friend. All right, everybody, we'll do this all again next Tuesday. If you'd like to send in questions ahead of time so that they're among the first to be answered, deltacx.com/links, or mid-level patrons and higher do have a special Discord channel where you can send questions that'll be answered first. And other than that, I'm just going to say goodbye. Thanks again for coming, and I hope that I'll see everybody I hope that I'll see everybody tomorrow at our service design webinar in Google Meet. Thanks, and see you later.